Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit North Node, Sextile, or Trine one's natal Chiron. Now, this transit may manifest in one's future destiny, the mission, purpose, where you're directed to, what you're learning and aspiring to be. Being in harmony with your physical and emotional wounds, suffering, helping, and healing others. I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. Now, this is not about compatibility with one's future and destiny and any physical or emotional suffering you may be enduring, but what it is, it could be where your future is less likely to be in conflict with any suffering that you're going through. And if you're helping and healing other people, your future might have a positive impact on your future. It might be very auspicious for it. It could be, for example, if you're doing some kind of assistance, and say you have your natal Chiron in the zodiac sign Cancer and or the fourth house. It could be where you're working as a home caregiver and you're helping. You'll be helping somebody that's debilitated or sickly, and maybe somebody takes note of this and it leads to it some other position, somewhere where it's comparable but maybe higher paying, and it plays dividends in one's future. Now, another thing about this is about where if you're learning, and it could be positive for learning and aspiring to be a person that may help and heal others more. It could be, like if you have, say the natal, Chiron, is an Aquarius in the sixth house as an example. It could be providing some kind of astrology or computer related service to people as some examples. And this is a time where if you're going through any physical or emotional suffering at this time, this is a time where you may be directed toward dealing with it more, confronting this. I mean, transit, the North Node in transit can be about issues one may have to address and confront. And when you have positive aspect of transit with the North Node and the natal Chiron, well, it can manifest in being directed toward doing things where you're helping yourself. It could be through physical rehab. It might be dealing with some emotional suffering that you're going through. At this time, if you have your natal Chiron, say it's in Pisces, in the 11th house in your chart, it might be you might have dealt with some betrayal or deception or duplicity by friends, or maybe it was from some people in some group, club, or organization. It can be your place of business. I mean, I have Pisces intercepted in my 11th house, so I know all about deception and duplicity from friends, and these are people, places, businesses that I've been at, people that have just turned on me inexplicably. So I do again relate to that in that example. But anyway, the thing about this too is, I mean, Chiron is also connected with with anguish and just emotional turmoil, and it is a time to be, if you're directed toward being directed toward dealing and coping, finding some kind of resolution, or at least alleviating the pain to some degree. It can be a time, again, going back to the fact that transit, the North Node in transit can be about issues one may have to address and confront. And since the natal Chiron can be about physical suffering, it could be, especially if you have this, I would say, in the first or the sixth house in your natal chart. First house, of course, is associated with the physical body. The sixth house is connected with physical health related issues. And say if you have your natal Chiron in Sagittarius, the first or sixth house especially, could be some physical suffering that's going on at the hips, or the sciatic nerve. It could be the liver, the thighs, maybe even obesity in some cases. And the time, if you procrastinated or hesitated, on any physical related matters, this could be the time where you feel more drawn to actually confronting those matters and taking care of them at this time. And again, it could be, through, some rehab, or, if you need to set up like some doctor's appointment, it's less likely where you would have some delay or diversion or distraction in doing so at this time. So it can be a very positive time for taking care of those matters. And if you have whatever it is you feel you're directed toward this time, where your future may lie, this is not, it's a time where the physical related issues and emotional suffering is less likely to conflict with it. Maybe you've taken care of the physical related matters, if you have any, to a point where you're able to at least work through them, to at least alleviate the suffering. Keep in mind the transit of the North Node. I mean, this doesn't, of course, it doesn't supplant or replace your natal North Node placement. That your natal North Node placement is a constant, and it stays with you throughout the course of your life. When you have the North Node in transit, it's really, it's just at that point in time, it could be just what you're aspiring to be at that moment, or just getting some of those qualities in you, for that time at least, the positive attributes associated with the placement. And the thing about it too is, Chiron is connected with our depleted self-esteem. If you have your natal Chiron in the first house, for example, it could be over, how your appearance is, the physical body. And if you have, like, say if you're going on, an interview or something at this time, and it's playing a role in your future, and you have this transit, making a sextile or trine to your natal Chiron in the first house, it's a time where you're less likely to have, if you have any hang-ups over your appearance or your physical body, you're less likely conflict with what needs to be done, making that first impression. And Chiron is also connected with one's ineptitude, or where we feel inept at. Now, if you have your natal Chiron in Gemini and or the third house in the chart, it can be maybe you at least feel inept in terms of your intellectual ability, your ability to assimilate information, to articulate facts, concepts, ideas. It can be where you don't feel, you feel like you could be more diversified or versatile in some cases, but not so. But maybe you're not, though, or you at least perceive that you're not. And when you have the transit North Node again making a sextile or trine to this natal Chiron, it's a time where those issues may be cast aside, and you're able to work through them more in terms of what you feel at this time is connected with some kind of future or destiny or purpose. And the Chiron is also connected with its weakness, which is tied in with the ineptitude. It's where you may feel weak, you feel where there's some sense of lack. And what I stated about the ineptitude can apply to weakness as well, where that's not going to, it's less likely to conflict with what you want to pursue in your destiny, your mission, your purpose at this time. And Chiron is also associated with our deepest pain. I have my natal Chiron in Aries in the 12th house. That deepest pain may be tied in with the inability to confront hidden adversaries, people that were maybe impersonating themselves or posing as friends, but were really hurting me, maybe using me in some cases, and not being able to stand up to them in some cases. And this is the time where, if I need to address any issues with that, it could be a lot easier to do so, because it's a flowing aspect. Your sextile and trine, of course, is a very good aspect to have, and then to take care of those matters in that example. And it's also a time, if you feel, you may feel directed toward better, or being able, to move forward, and at the same time understanding the key to your suffering at this time. And it could be a good blending of knowing, what is the root of your suffering and being able to move forward, in your purpose. Again, going back to my natal Chiron in Aries in the 12th house as an example, that that key for me could simply be about finding some kind of initiative and drive and motivation, trying to work through my limitations, and also matters connected maybe with isolation and too much emphasis on solitude and seclusion. And anyway, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now this transit could be positive for moving toward, which is the North Node, dealing with your weakness, or at least your perceived weakness, which is Chiron. Now let's say, for example, if the natal Chiron is in Leo, there might be some weakness connected with confidence, self-assuredness, gregariousness, not getting praised or being lauded for your efforts, not getting the recognition you feel that you deserve, maybe for your achievements. Now, this transit could also be very auspicious to pursue the purpose, which is the North Node, again, while dealing with ineptitude, which is Chiron. Now, if the transit North Node is in Virgo in the 11th house as an example, it could be maybe dealing, doing something with analyzing, which is Virgo. It could be astrology charts. Astrology is connected with the 11th house, or could be diagnosing computers as another example. Now, also, too, people that are prominent in your future, which is the North Node, can be more in harmony and agreement with how you help and heal others, which is Chiron. Now, if the natal Chiron is in Scorpio in the 2nd house, it could be transforming and really giving more power, which is Scorpio. It matters with self-esteem. You may help others by transforming their self-esteem and self-worth and how they feel about themselves, and that's the 2nd house. Now, this transit could also be propitious for what you're learning and aspiring to be, which is the North Node, being assisted by people you have helped and healed, which is Chiron. Now, if you have the transit North Node, say, it's in Aquarius, what you're learning and aspiring to be, it could just simply be someone that's more obtrusive, selfless, altruistic, considerate, or it could be something connected with Aquarius, like profession or job, such as astrology or astronomy, something with computers, electronics, innovation, as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.